My name is Bernie Wagenblast. I was a student here from 1974 until 1978. From when I was a little kid, I knew I wanted to be involved with radio. So when I was looking at colleges, and back in the day we had college catalogs that we went to the guidance office in our high school to get, I was looking for schools that had real radio stations. By that I mean stations that broadcast beyond just the campus. I think I looked at probably two different colleges, Rider University down in the Trenton area. I chose Seton University because I knew I wanted to be involved with radio. So I was looking at colleges that had what I call real radio stations, ones that broadcast beyond just the walls of the campus. And Seton Hall had one with Wsou, and it had a strong signal that covered not just northern New Jersey and central New Jersey, but got into parts of New York City. So that was important for me. And really, I was just lucky because I didn't do a whole lot of research when it came to looking at colleges, and Seton Hall kind of fell into my lap. I got involved with Wsou right from the start. Freshman orientation was the first opportunity I had to see the radio station. They were doing a remote broadcast from the Student Center for freshman orientation. So anytime there wasn't something going on as far as the orientation, I was there watching them do radio, talking to some of the students who were involved with the radio station. And then once I became a student in September and arrived on campus, I was in the radio station that first day to see how I could get involved and become part of the radio station. I was very fortunate. First, one of the things that I think has always been true of Wsou, and it was certainly true when I was a student, is that the older students paved the way for the younger students who followed them. And the very first professional paid job I had in broadcasting was working at a radio station in Elizabeth, New Jersey, WJDM. And one of the older students, Stu Miller, was covering city council meetings and board of education meetings, and they needed somebody new to help cover some of those. So he put in a good word for me, and I got that job. There was another Wsou alum, by the way, Mary Barbieri Young, who was the news director at the time. So she hired me, and that led to being a newscaster during afternoons when the summer break came along, so I was able to do that. Later on, my junior year, another older student was working at WHN in New York City, which was a country music station. Back then, almost all of the radio stations had fairly large news departments, and WHN did in particular. So I was hired there as a news assistant, and a chance to work, my first opportunity to work in New York radio and do pretty much everything that a reporter did except be on the air. I always still wanted to be on the radio. And about a year after I had graduated, the break of a lifetime for me came along. That was when shadow traffic, which was this new concept of one company reporting traffic on multiple radio stations in the market, came to New York. They had reached out to Seton Hall and some other universities looking for potential broadcasters to be hired to do the traffic reports. And fortunately, my name was one of the names that was submitted to Shadow. I went in for an audition, passed the audition. You had to know a little bit about the geography of the New York metropolitan area. And on December 3rd, 1979, a number of Wsou alum were part of that original on-air broadcast team when Shadow Traffic debuted. And for me, it was a wonderful opportunity because you were on in my case, two New York radio stations, 1010 WINS. I was doing afternoon traffic there, and in the morning, I was on with a legendary DJ by the name of Dan Ingram on 77 Music Radio WABC. So here I was a year after graduation, on the air, on two New York radio stations in drive time. You couldn't have asked for a better situation for someone who wanted to be in radio. These days, my business is involved with my own business. I have a company where I do several different electronic newsletters about transportation, which I've been involved with throughout my career. I do some voiceover work. Much of it is transportation oriented, so folks might hear me on the New York City subway or on the air train at Newark and Kennedy airports, for example. But I also do still keep my hand in radio broadcasting for 4 hours a week doing traffic reports just on Saturday afternoons. What makes Wsou so special, I think, is not just the history of being a station that's been around since 1948, one of the oldest college radio stations in existence, but that community that continues to exist for Wsou alum from the earliest days of the radio station up through the present day students. They still manage to keep in touch. to find out and be interested in what's going on in the radio station. Certainly, social media has made that much more easily done than it was in the past. So I think that connection that the students have, and the fact that it was throughout its history student operated, that the students were the ones on the air doing all of the behind the scenes work, I think also contributed to making WSU very special from a lot of other college radio stations. Well, I think one of the things that I learned when I was a student here, I was a communications major, as you might guess, and I really felt that what I wanted to learn the most was the radio station. So almost every opportunity I had to be here, holidays, weekends, the summertime when classes were out, I was involved with the radio station. What I didn't realize until much later in my career were the things I learned in communications and how important they were. Because even if you don't go into broadcasting, you still have to communicate in almost any field that you're involved with. So learning a little bit about how to communicate, how to get your message across, how to write well, how to speak well, all those things I think have served me well. Even the times when I was outside of broadcasting, those communication skills have served me in some ways even more than my radio skills have served me during my career.
Can we hear a little traffic report?
Sure. On the Garden State Parkway, traffic moving slow for about a half mile as you get into the Raritan Toll Plaza. Then the local lanes are the better choice as you head down toward Monmouth County. If you're traveling to the Lincoln Tunnel, you can expect about a 10-minute wait. Up at the George Washington Bridge, the lower level the best bet with about a 5-minute delay.